Good morning, and it's Thursday, and welcome to Penn Vicarage. Hope you are well and cheerful today. It's lovely to see you, it really is, and welcome to the Vicarage this morning. Well, 2 days ago we looked at the famous words of the Nunc Dimittis, one of the canticles from Evensong, and today we're going to look at the other one, the wonderful words of what's known as the Magnificat. And beautiful words set to some fantastic and incredible music over the years. As I say, part of them sung every time at choral Evensong and other things as well. So let's just set the scene. What's happened? You've got Mary. Now, Mary was basically, there were two things you need to know about Mary. One is that she was a very, very ordinary girl. She was just an ordinary, probably mid-teenage girl. The other thing you need to know about Mary is that she feared, in other words, she honoured God in her life. So she was basically a very, very ordinary, lowly person, but she was somebody who loved God and honoured God. And one day, this angel, Gabriel, appears to her and tells her she's going to give birth to the Son of God. And as you can imagine, this was something of a shock to Mary, especially as she would know that she was a virgin, and so that Joseph would have to be told that because he wasn't the father, and of course, interesting conversation with her dad as well, and things like that as well. But nonetheless, she says yes to God, but asks, how can this be? And so the angel tells her that God is going to overshadow her, and she's going to give birth to the Son of God, and so on. And by the way, she says, Auntie Liz up the road, that lovely, sweet old lady that always wanted children, but far too old for them now, but always tried, but just never quite happened for her. She, by the way, she's pregnant as well. So Mary, as I say, says yes to God, and she goes, understandably, she goes to see Elizabeth to kind of check it out. You know, is this really true, and so on. She goes to see Elizabeth, and as they're arriving, there's this wonderful greeting. And Elizabeth says, you know, that as I saw you, that the child in my womb leapt with joy. John the Baptist, of course, leapt with joy. And then Mary then realises, of course, you know, this really is the big deal. And then she comes out with these wonderful words of the Magnificat. And again, like I said with the Nunc Dimittis, don't just hear it with your head, hear it with your heart as well. Hear the emotion behind what Mary's saying here. Here goes. And Mary said, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Saviour. For he has looked with favour on the lowliness of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. He's shown strength with his arm. He's scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. He's brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He's filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He's helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham and his descendants forever. And Mary remained with her, Elizabeth, about 3 months, and then returned to her home. Now, this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, there are hundreds, thousands of sermons in that amazing words. And I had to say, how am I to say those without breaking into song halfway through, a goodness only knows. But there we go. Just 3 things very briefly this morning. Firstly, in the Bible, it seems, I talked a few days ago when we talked about Revelation, that the Bible is often written in code. And in the Bible, the unexpected birth of a child is code for God is doing something new and something really special. So, for example, you have Abraham's wife, Sarah, unexpectedly giving birth at the age of 99 to Isaac. Unexpected birth, as you can see. You have Hannah in the first book of Samuel. Again, a barren person, someone who desperately wanted a child. God gave her a child, Samuel. And again, God did great things through Samuel. And of course, in yesterday's reading, we had the baby Emmanuel in chapter 7 and 8 and 9 of Isaiah yesterday. Again, the birth of a child, signalling that God is doing something new and something special. But notice in Luke chapter 1, it happens not once, but twice. It happens with Elizabeth, this barren lady, becoming pregnant in her old age, and it happens with Mary the Virgin. In other words, it happens twice. In other words, God bringing about the unexpected birth of a child is God doing something special. But here in Luke 1, we've got it twice. In other words, what the Bible is saying to you is, this is the big one. This is it. You know, God is doing something not just special, but mega special. So your ears are supposed to prick up and say, ooh, this, friends, is the big one. You've got two unexpected births, pregnancies in this chapter here. So God is doing something really new and really special. The word, that's the first thing. The second is, the word is, we call it Magnificat. My soul magnifies the Lord. And to magnify, if you use a magnifying glass, it means make something bigger. And effectively, what Mary is saying here is, my soul bigs up God. I always imagine some rap artists haven't got their hands on this, my soul bigs up God or something like that. I'm quite surprised some rap artists, or maybe they have, I don't know. Yeah, it certainly puts a different slant on it. But what Mary's effectively saying here, she's full of joy. She realises the ramification of what's happening. This really is happening, and it's happening to me, and God is doing massive here. And so she bursts over with excitement and says, because God has magnified me, my soul magnifies God. Okay, so that's what she's saying is, God has magnified me, and I'm going to magnify God. I'm going to big up God. And my soul magnifies the Lord literally means my soul bigs up God. So two things. Firstly, God is doing something mega special. He does it twice in Luke chapter 1. Secondly, what Mary's doing here is saying, God has bigged up me, and I'm going to big up God. But the third thing, which you just can't miss here, is Mary's talking here about the way God works. And what she's saying here is he has regarded the lowliness of his handmaid. In other words, he's seeing me in my lowliness. I am not rich. I'm not powerful. I'm not well connected. I'm not, higher status or something. And yet, God has used me, she says. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. I'm not well qualified. But God uses me. I'm open to God. And because I'm open and honor God, God will use me. And Mary then goes on, fancy words, extrapolates this and says that is how God works. That God does not choose to work through the rich, the powerful, the well-connected and so on. Because actually, God controls history. God controls events. God builds up and God brings down. Such is history. God raises up and God brings down. But God uses not necessarily people who are rich and powerful, the people the world always looks to. God instead uses people who are open to him, people who fear him, people who recognize their need of God, people who aren't hoity and lifted up and proud. God instead uses people who are humble enough to say to God, yes, I'll do it your way. And so she tells us that in the same way that God has chosen her, a humble handmaid from Nazareth, out of all the people he could have picked, he's picked her because she's open to him. In the same way, God in history uses people who are open to him. They don't have to be rich. They don't have to be powerful. All we have to do, like Mary, is be prepared to say yes to God. And my hope and my prayer for all of us today is that we learn the lesson of being able to say, yes, God, I honour you, and be it to me the way according to your word. Your will be done in my life. And they're the people who God uses. And that's because he used Mary, and that's what he does today. God does not necessarily use the rich, the powerful. God uses people who are open to him. And may we be open to him today too. God bless you. And tomorrow we're doing the Benedictus, another famous canticle. Look forward to that.